Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to discuss one of the most fascinating and collectible coins in American numismatic history, the Roosevelt Dime Era coins, a series that continues to captivate collectors and investors because of their intriguing minting mistakes, hidden historical value, and jaw-dropping auction records. And while at first glance the Roosevelt dime might seem like just another everyday piece of pocket change, the truth is that within this small 17.9 millimeter, 2.27-gram coin lies a rich history, beginning with its introduction in 1946 to honor the legacy of President Franklin D. Roosevelt, who had passed away in 1945 and who was beloved not only as a leader through the Great Depression and World War II, but also for his deep connection to the March of Dimes campaign, which worked tirelessly to fight polio, the disease he himself battled, making this coin symbolic in more ways than one, and because of that symbolism, the Roosevelt dime quickly became an essential part of U.S. coinage. Yet what truly transforms this ordinary coin into an extraordinary collector's piece are the errors that occurred during its minting process, since mint errors by nature are unintentional mistakes that slip through quality control and make their way into circulation, often in very limited numbers, which in turn makes them both rare and valuable. And in the case of Roosevelt dimes, some of these errors have commanded prices ranging from a few $100 to well over $10,000 at major auctions, meaning that what looks like a simple dime in your pocket could actually be a hidden treasure if you know what to look for. So let us break down the history, types of errors, and values of these amazing Roosevelt dime errors while weaving in their record auction sales and why collectors chase after them with such passion. Beginning with the earliest years when the dime was still struck in 90% silver from 1946 until 1964, a period that produced some of the most desirable pieces in numismatics because silver planchets themselves carry intrinsic value, and because mistakes made on silver coins tend to be even rarer since the mint was careful in handling them. Yet despite the care, there are silver Roosevelt dime era coins that slip through, including double die obverse and reverse coins where inscriptions like "Liberty," "In God We Trust," or the date itself appear doubled, sometimes very dramatically, and the stronger the doubling, the more valuable the coin, with some examples selling for several $1,000s depending on grade and clarity. While transitional errors also occurred during the historic shift in 1965 when the U.S. Mint removed silver from dimes and quarters to transition into the copper-nickel-clad composition, and here we find one of the most valuable Roosevelt dime errors of all. The 1965 Roosevelt dime struck on a silver planchet, a true transitional error caused when leftover 90% silver planchets from 1964 were accidentally used in 1965 presses, and these coins are extraordinarily rare, with one selling at heritage auctions for well over $9,000, instantly making it one of the most famous dimes of the modern era. And because so few exist, every collector dreams of finding one of these in circulation, though today it is nearly impossible. But they do appear in high-profile sales from time to time and always generate buzz. Yet transitional errors are only one fascinating type of Roosevelt dime mint error, because we also encounter broad strike errors where the collar fails during striking, causing the design to spread out across a wider surface without the standard reeded edge, creating a dime that looks stretched or enlarged, often bringing $50 to $200 depending on condition, while off-center strikes are another favorite among collectors, where the coin design is struck significantly off its intended alignment, leaving blank crescent-shaped areas on the dime, and the more dramatic the misalignment, especially those showing a clear date and mint mark, the higher the value, sometimes exceeding $500 or more. Then there are off-metal errors where the Roosevelt dime was accidentally struck on a planchet intended for another denomination, for example a dime struck on a cent planchet or even on a foreign coin planchet. Mistakes that are exceptionally scarce because they require a very specific set of circumstances at the mint, yet when discovered, they can command thousands, with certain off-metal Roosevelt dime errors recorded selling for over $5,000, adding even more mystique to this series. But perhaps the most eye-catching Roosevelt dime errors are the missing clad layer examples, where the nickel coating on either one or both sides of the coin is absent, exposing the reddish copper core and giving the dime a very unusual and instantly noticeable look. These are not only popular with error specialists but also with casual collectors because they are visually dramatic, and depending on how complete the missing clad layer is, such coins often sell for $200 to $500, though exceptional examples have gone for even higher, and if you think about it, such an error turns a dime worth 10 cents into a collectible worth hundreds, proving just how impactful mint mistakes can be. Yet the story of Roosevelt dime errors does not end there, because we also see double-struck dimes, where a coin is struck more than once by the dies, creating overlapping images that are both bizarre and fascinating, and depending on the degree of misalignment between strikes, these can range from modest premiums of $100 to extraordinary prices when the doubling is dramatic and clear. Then we must also mention die cap errors, where a coin becomes stuck to the die and strikes subsequent coins with a distorted, cap-like impression, creating some of the strangest-looking Roosevelt dimes you will ever see, which can easily sell for hundreds if not thousands, proving that the minting process, though highly advanced, is still vulnerable to surprising outcomes, and each of these mistakes tells a story not only about how coins are made but also about how rare anomalies survive and make their way into the hands of collectors. And if we turn back to auction history, we see consistent evidence that collectors value Roosevelt dime errors highly, with prices at heritage auctions, Stacksbauer's, and other major houses repeatedly proving demand. For example, a 1965 silver Roosevelt dime error graded MS-66 sold for $9,200, while another dramatic double die from the early silver years brought nearly $3,000, and multiple off-center Roosevelt dimes in high grade regularly achieve between $400 and $800, while spectacular multi-error pieces can surpass $5,000, reminding us once again that in numismatics, rarity plus demand equals incredible value. And perhaps the most exciting part of all this is that Roosevelt dime errors are still out there, tucked away in collections, coin rolls, or even old jars of change in basements and attics, waiting to be rediscovered. And that potential for discovery fuels the passion of collectors who check every dime they encounter, and that's why Roosevelt dime errors remain one of the most intriguing areas of U.S. coin collecting, appealing not just to advanced specialists but also to beginners who love the idea of possibly finding a valuable error in everyday circulation, because while finding one today is rare, it is not impossible, and stories continue to emerge of people uncovering hidden treasures worth hundreds or even thousands in the most unexpected places. When we look at the Roosevelt dime error coins as a whole, it becomes clear why collectors consider them among the most exciting treasures in U.S. numismatics, because each type of error tells a different story about the minting process, from transitional silver planchet errors that can sell for over $9,000, to dramatic off-center strikes that showcase how a slight shift in the dies can transform a simple dime into a coin worth hundreds, and from missing clad layer pieces with their striking copper appearance to double strikes and die caps that create bizarre and unforgettable designs. Every error represents both rarity and opportunity, and this combination of scarcity, strong demand, and undeniable historical significance is what makes Roosevelt dime errors so appealing not just to seasoned experts but also to casual collectors and even people who stumble upon one in their change without realizing at first what they have, because these coins remind us that mistakes can sometimes be masterpieces, and the value that collectors assign to them proves that the smallest errors can create the greatest rewards. So whether you are searching rolls of dimes, checking through old coin jars, or studying auctions for the next big opportunity, always keep your eyes open for these unique coins, because finding a Roosevelt dime error could mean holding a piece of history and profit in your hands. And with the market for error coins continuing to grow, the potential value of these mistakes will only increase in the future, turning once overlooked dimes into prized assets. So if you're passionate about coin collecting, Roosevelt dime errors are truly a category you cannot ignore. And with that, we've reached the end of today's deep dive into these fascinating coins. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to the channel for more detailed videos on rare and valuable coins. And don't forget to hit the like button and share this video with other collectors who might also enjoy uncovering the secrets of coin errors, because together we can keep the history of numismatics alive and discover the treasures hidden in plain sight.